Hi, this is Phil from philsolano.com. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at SEO tips for higher rankings. Now, SEO or search engine optimization is a vast subject, and there are courses out there dedicated to it. So in this video, I'm just going to be taking a look at the overview on SEO. What exactly is SEO? SEO stands for search engine optimization. Let's say, for example, that your product or your service or niche happens to be gardening. A visitor wants to find out information about gardening tools. So they go to their favourite search engine, be it Google, Yahoo or Bing, and they type in their keyword phrase, gardening tools. Ideally, your site will be on the top of page 1 of the search engines. So SEO is the method by which we help you to achieve that result. There are two types of SEO. There's on-page SEO, which is basically where you optimise your website, so you maximise your possibility of ranking highly in the search engines. And there's off-page SEO. This is basically where you use external methods to drive traffic to your site, and the most commonly used methods are link building and the use of social media. Let's take a look at on-page SEO. It's very important to start off with the correct keyword selection. So how do you know which keywords are going to be popular? The best way to do this is to use the Google keyword tool, which is a free tool. So what you would do is you start off with your main keyword phrase. So in this case, let's say gardening. You've got this website or your site you want to build all about gardening, and so therefore what you do is you enter the keyword phrase gardening into the Google keyword tool, hit the search button, and then you'll be given a huge list of loads and loads of keyword phrases relating to gardening. So you could have, for example, gardening tools, maintaining your garden, all sorts of stuff like that. And then on the right hand side you'll have various columns. The two columns we would be mainly concerned about would be the global search and the monthly search. This would be the number of searches visitors have done each month based on those keyword phrases. The most popular ones, of course, would be the ones that you'd be mainly wanting to target. And if you were to use those keyword phrases within your site, it's more than likely that people will then find your site when they're typing that keyword phrase. There is also competition to take into account with that. Researching and testing is very important here, where you need to look at the number of keywords, the number of searches per month, and also the competition. Another way to improve your on-page SEO is to have a good description for your site. And this is often referred to as the meta description tag. So within this tag, this will tell people what your site or what your page happens to be about. So again, if you go to Google, for example, and you type in a particular keyword phrase, as an example, gardening tools, you'll see the title gardening tools, and underneath it there'll be a description of what that page is all about. Now that helps both the search engines, and it also helps the visitor to decide whether that's the page they actually want to go and view. Alt tags are also very important. Now alt tags are tags that are often used with images. So you have a picture on your site, and the original purpose of the alt tag was to help those people who had either visual impairment or a browser which couldn't view images, to give an idea of what the image was about. So they could hover their mouse over the image, and a little pop-up text comes up to give a bit of a description of that image. So let's say you're dealing with gardening tools, so your visitor comes along and they hover their mouse over the image of a gardening fork. The alt tag for that would be gardening fork, or a particular type of gardening fork. It gives the visitor an idea of what the image is about, even if they can't actually see the image. So the tags you use, your alt tags, are very important, because again you can actually use those to help optimize your page for the particular keyword phrase or keyword phrases that you're targeting. H1, H2 and H3 tags are known as the header tags, hence the H. And these are basically just the titles or the subtitles of your article. Let's say, for example, you have an article on gardening tools, so the H1 tag could be the title of the article, i.e. gardening tools. The H2 tag then may be for a subheading for that. So for example, it could be gardening forks, where you want to discuss gardening forks. The H3 tag could be the best place to buy your gardening forks. So those are your different titles and subtitles. So again, these are very useful because you can actually use your keyword phrases. So you use your most popular keyword phrase for the H1 tag, or the one that's most related to the niche. And then the other ones would be other keyword phrases which would be also related to that. So they're all related keyword phrases that are used within the header tags. The URL structure is also very important, and it refers to the actual web address, or the address of your website, if you like. So let's just say your website was on gardening. Let's just say, for example, your site was gardening.com. The full URL for that would be http://gardening.com. And then one of your pages may be on gardening tools. The full URL for that would be http://gardening.com/gardening-tools. And that is a good URL structure. Sometimes when you're dealing with, for example, blogs, if they're not set up correctly, you'll have the gardening.com part, which would be right, but then afterwards, instead of the page saying gardening-tools, it may have some very strange syntax like $equals page 128, and that's not a good URL structure because it's meaningless, and that won't get your site to rank well or your particular page to rank well within the search engines. Because bear in mind, it's not just the actual main site or the home page you want to rank well, but of course all your individual pages or your individual posts, you want those to rank well as well. So therefore the URL structure is very, very important. Internal linking. Internal linking is also very important. Linking is basically, you see that what they call a hypertext link. That's a link that's often coloured blue and it's got an underline under the word or the keyword phrase, and when you click on it, that takes you to another page. So again, internal linking is very important. So you may be referring to garden tools, and you may be saying that a certain tool is very good for raking the lawn, and so therefore you could have a link to lawn where you've got another page which is about how to look after or how to maintain your garden lawn. So that's what we mean by internal linking. So it's always a good idea to have internal linking. So every page should have internal linking going from one page to another. In terms of search engines, linking is considered a vote for that particular article or that particular page. It goes without saying that content is very, very important in terms of its quality. Normally each post or each page should be a minimum of about 500 to 600 words, and it needs to be unique content. By unique content I mean content that's been written by yourself. It hasn't been copied anyway. You must never ever copy content from other sites. You don't just go to another site and think, oh, that's a useful article on garden tools. All I'll do is I'll just copy that and then I'll paste it into my own site. That's an absolute no-no. You'll probably get into all sorts of trouble with the original author or with the original website, and also you won't rank well in search engines for doing that either. By all means, you can actually use that content for what's known as repurposing, where you rewrite the article and put your own twist or your own slant onto that information. But in terms of the content, you must never ever directly copy it. Moving on to keyword density. This is the number of times a particular keyword phrase is mentioned within an article. Now, it is important to mention it 2 or 3 times, but you don't want to overdo it. There's something called keyword stuffing, which is where, back in the old days, people used to use keyword stuffing to include the keyword phrase many, many times in an article, and that's an absolute no-no. The site ranking, in fact, will drop if you do that. So yes, you need to mention it 1 or 2 times, but don't overdo it. Moving on then to sitemaps, both XML and visitor access. First of all, what exactly is a sitemap? Well, a sitemap is the listing of all the pages and posts that are available on your website. To make it easy for people to search for things, so they want to find your article on gardening tools, for example, and by this time you've added loads more posts to your site, and so therefore the gardening tools is way down the bottom of the page, or maybe almost disappeared, and they think, oh yes, I remember looking at this article I read about a month ago about gardening tools. I wonder if I can find it again. So they go back to your site, but they can't find it that easily. So if they can go to sitemap, they can scroll down and they'll eventually find a post on gardening tools. That would be the visitor access part of the sitemap. The XML bit, okay, which is basically a form of markup language, is the language which Google or the search engines would understand. So that's the way they index all the various pages and posts on your site. There are certain pages or posts you may not want the visitor or for the search engines to see, so therefore it is possible to hide those pages. So you can actually customize the sitemap to allow access to the search engines or the visitors, so you can choose what they can see. Site usability and accessibility. Again, very important. You want to make navigation really easy for people, for users to be able to see and find the information they want nice and quickly. Having things like search engine boxes, navigation at the top of the web page near the header area, or on the sidebar is very important. Accessibility is really for those people who maybe only use a text-only browser. Again, you want the layout to be nice and easy for them to navigate. A lot of people have visual impairment, and so therefore they'll use these text-only browsers, and essentially the browser reads the content to them. So again, it's very important to have it optimized for both site usability and accessibility. You can also track target keywords. So the target keyword would be the keyword phrase that you're aiming to rank highly for in the search engines, and so therefore you can use various tools which allow you to track these keywords. As an example, within your hosting there are analytics tools you can use to track various keywords or keyword phrases. You can also use external tools such as Google Analytics, or for example another one, an independent one called Stat Counter, which will show you your keyword phrases and how many times people have searched for those keyword phrases. So optimizing your site in terms of on-page, and if you were just to do that on its own, you could expect results between 6 to 12 months. And that's if you would just apply on-page only and nothing else. Let's now take a look at some of the common SEO mistakes, things to avoid. Duplicate content. So I've already mentioned duplicate content earlier, where you must not copy other people's content and paste it onto your own site. But you can also get duplicate content within your own site. By that I mean, sometimes you can get different URLs for the same page. Let's just say you do a post on gardening tools. So when somebody goes to search for your article, the URL comes up gardening.com/gardening-tools. If they then were to go to a category on your page about gardening, you then may end up with the same page or the same post, but the URL is different, where it would say gardening.com/categories/gardening-tools. So in other words, you've got two different URLs for the same content or the same information. And in the search engine's eyes, that would be considered duplicate content. So you have to set up your site in a way that each article will only have one URL. Offsite images and content on site. You need to avoid using offsite images. What exactly do we mean by an offsite image? An offsite image is an image which appears on another site, and what you're doing is you're linking from that image to your page, and your page has that same image on it. So when people click on that image, it's actually taken to another site, and that's considered poor practice, and it's something to be avoided. By all means, you should have an image on your site. You can have a link going from your image which then goes to their site. The image is not actually hosted on their site, it's hosted on your site. That's fine, but you don't want to actually have an image which is coming from somebody else's website. Also very important, of course, to avoid duplicate title tags. So in other words, you wouldn't want to have two pages about gardening tools where they were both labelled exactly the same now, because again the search engines will see that as duplicate content, even though the actual article on each page is different. The fact that both the title tags are the same will be considered duplicate content. And a title is one of the most important things that the search engine looks for when they're trying to find information about your site. Now let's take a look at bad SEO tactics.